one of the most asked questions I get is, should I take the SAT or the ACT, and what are the differences between the two? So I thought I'd make a quick video to highlight the differences between the two tests. The first major difference is in the timing. SAT gives you more time to answer questions than the ACT does. And while that seems great, the SAT is a more analytical test, so it might take a little longer to answer each of those questions, whereas the ACT tends to be a little bit more straightforward. That leads us right into the second major difference, which is in the reading passages. So SAT reading gives you about 13 minutes to read a passage and answer 10 questions, whereas you only get 8.5 minutes to do the same on the ACT. Before you get too excited though, we need to look at the level of difficulty. So when a textual analysis was done, the SAT reading passages were found to be at a freshman level of college, versus the ACT, which are at about a sophomore level of high school. So while you do get more time on the SAT, the passages are going to be more difficult, and so it might take you a little bit longer to read through the passages and answer those questions. The third major difference is in math. The SAT loves algebra. They say algebra is king, so you definitely need a strong base in algebra. It does also cover some stats, some probabilities, some other advanced topics, but 60 to 65% of the test is algebra based. The ACT is a little bit more of a broader range of topics. So you have about 40% geometry. You still have your algebra. You're going to have the same idea, trig, statistics, some advanced topics. Again, one of the major differences is timing. On the SAT, you get about 1.5 minutes per question. On the ACT, you have 60 questions and 60 minutes. So it goes much quicker. Both tests do kind of move in order from easy, medium, hard to difficult. It's a little more loose on the SAT. And one of the other major differences is that the SAT has a no calculator section. So for those of us who are dependent on punching in numbers, this might not be a great section for you. One other thing that people like to consider, if you're strong in math, half of your score on the SAT comes from math. Whereas if math is maybe not quite your thing, only 1/4 of your score comes from math on the ACT. So something to consider there. And then the last major difference is that the ACT still has that dedicated science section. Some kids just absolutely dread it and feel like they can't overcome that. The SAT does give you a science-based score, and the way they do that is they sprinkle in some graph science questions in the reading, the writing, and in the math. Definitely not as difficult as that dedicated section on the ACT. So those are kind of the 4 things to consider when choosing whether to take an SAT or an ACT. We recommend that a student sit for both tests. There is no better way to figure out if you have a stronger test than to sit for both tests. In fact, we recommend starting as sophomores. You'll take that October PSAT, and then we would recommend that you take a spring ACT. I would recommend April or June ACT because you can get the test information release. That way, not only do you have a score from both tests, and by the way, a PSAT is a great indication of how you will do on an SAT. So you can use that to figure out if you are stronger on that test. So not only would you have a score from both tests, but if you get the test information release and the PSAT, you can go back in and actually look at your questions so you get real feedback as to what you got wrong, how you answered the questions, and what those correct answers are. If you are interested in learning more, or if you have more specific questions about yourself or your son or daughter, please feel free to give one of our learning centers a call. We would be happy to talk you through the process and either get your child set up for one of our complimentary ACT or SAT simulations, or get them set up for test prep so that they can alleviate some stress and hopefully hit the goal score that they have in mind.